you clicked this video, it might be because you're wondering, how do I know when I am ready to quit my job? Well, as your currently unemployed person, because I've decided to quit my job, let me tell you the 3 things that I had to ask myself to know that I was ready to do so. But first, make sure to hit that like button so that your girl can get monetized and live her YouTuber dream someday. Alright, moving on. Number 1, in terms of what you need to ask yourself is, are you emotionally and mentally ready to quit your job? And that might be pretty hard to answer for some people. So what I would suggest doing is, if you don't know if you're a complete yes to this question, find a mood tracker, okay? Now I have this one mood tracker app on my iPad where it goes from a range of very sad cactus, somewhat sad cactus, neutral cactus, somewhat happy cactus, and then very happy cactus. I want you to find something like that and track your days for a certain amount of time, perhaps a whole month. Figure out what that average mood that you're feeling for work. If you're seeing yourself as a very sad or somewhat sad cactus for the most part, then I think that's a good sign that, hey, something's gotta change. I think a lot of times people go through their work with this specific mindset of where they tell themselves, oh man, I feel really burnt out and I feel really tired, but I have a reoccurring paycheck, or this work is really grueling and I'm working really late hours almost every day, but I have a really high paying salary. And I think it gets to a point where you have to really look within yourself and ask yourself, are you even happy? I enjoyed my team and the people that I worked with the most, and it brought me the greatest joy at my job. Now, when I got to a point where I was unable to work with those people anymore, I think it was definitely an indicator for me to be like, hey, you know what? The greatest happiness that I had working at my previous job, it's not there anymore, and I think I'm ready to move on to the next chapter of my life. Number 2. Now this question is the most realistic and practical question that you need to ask yourself. It is that, are you financially able to take some time off for a certain period of time without a reoccurring paycheck? Now, I think there's a lot of things you need to take into consideration when it comes to this question. 1, do you know how much expenses you have? And by expenses, I mean your necessities as well as any discretionary spending that you want to do while you have time off. A second point to this is, do you have anybody that's relying on you for their well-being? Whether it's children or whether it's your pets, this is definitely something that you should really keep in mind in terms of, can you afford to do this? And lastly, I think this one is often overlooked because it's so common in America, but it is that, do you have any debts? For example, student loans, right? They are massive, they are disgusting. I am completely aware that I am very blessed to have been able to have financial help going through college and being able to pay out the rest of my student loans a few years ago. But this is a very realistic question that you have to have in mind, because you really don't want to put yourself in an even deeper hole if you already have a big hole to begin with, okay? So overall, there's really 3 main points that you need to look at when it comes to the finances. Number 1, make sure that you understand what your average expenses are per month and whether or not you can still get by through savings, through side hustles, part-time, whatnot, to make sure that you're covering those grounds, right? That's essentially like your survivability. Number 2 is, do you have anybody who is reliant on you for the finances and their well-being? And lastly, number 3, do you have any debts that you really need to take into account for and pay off on a very consistent basis? I know that's a lot, and I know that's like not fun to think about, but this is the reality, right? Like, you don't want to just go out there and be like, I'll figure it out along the way, even though it kind of feels like that's what I'm doing. I told myself that if I can't find something by the end of this year, that is totally okay, because I know that I can afford that through my savings, and I am very lucky to not have anybody who is reliant on me, well, except for my cats, but you get the point, right? It's a very realistic and practical question that you need to evaluate before you decide to up and quit. And number 3, this is the hardest one for me personally that I had to overcome, but it is that, can you trust yourself in a situation where you don't have a backup plan in mind, right? I am quitting my job without another job lined up, and that is something that I never thought I would say out loud and make into a reality, because as somebody who has never been a risk taker and I've always had a plan and a backup plan and a backup plan to the backup plan, it's wild to me that I am doing this. But at the same time, it's really for my own good. And I think the best way to frame this mindset is like, I am suffering through a wedgie, okay? I have this gnarly wedgie that I am choosing not to pick because I am teaching myself how to be comfortable in this discomfort. But in all reality, if you do have a wedgie, please do pick it, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. You gotta be comfortable, okay? Life is too short for you to not be comfortable. So overall, I really think that if you are able to answer the first two questions about if you're emotionally, mentally ready, and if you're financially able to quit your job, then the third one is really, you know, up here, where it's okay, you answer the first two as yes, then the third one, you are absolutely capable of saying yes, but it's really getting yourself to get to that point. And I'm gonna be honest, it is so scary not having anything lined up, not having any expectations set, and just feeling very lost in this situation. But this is where you have to believe in yourself, okay? This is where you have to believe in yourself and tell yourself that, you know what, you're intentionally making this risk and placing this bet on you because you know that you can do that. So join me in this journey to the unknown. If you're somebody who has also decided to quit your job recently, welcome to our unemployment era. I am ready to glow up and find myself in this situation. Please comment down below if you've especially gone through something like this before, because your girl could use some words of wisdom from somebody who's gotten out on the other side. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!